Okay, we're 396, last line.
Yes. Canto 5, Book of Love. Canto 2, Satyavan, Book 5, The Book of Love. He met her in her regard, his
Oh,
future's
oh,
gaze.
he met in her regard.
He met in her regard, his future's gaze. A promise and a presence and a fire. Saw an embodiment of Ionic dreams, a mystery of the rapture for which all yearns in this world of brief mortality, made in material shape his very own.
Carry on.
This golden figure given to his grasp hid in its breast the key of all his aims, a spell to bring the immortal's bliss on earth, to mate with heaven's truth our mortal thought, to lift earth hearts nearer the eternal's sun.
So here he has explained it all as to why Satyavan and Savitri have met.
Mhm.
Because he meets in her look, his future's gaze. And that gaze is a promise and a presence and a fire. So Savitri is all these things. She's a promise to him,
Mm.
she's a presence, and she's a fire.
Mm.
And he saw in her the embodiment of Aeonic dreams. So he has had these dreams and she embodies those. Savitri embodies those.
Mm.
She is a mystery of the rapture for which everyone yearns in this world of brief mortality. Made in material shape, his very own. This tells us, that those who see Savitri only from the highest understanding that Satyavan is the soul of the world,
Mm.
Savitri is the sun, somehow miss the beauty of the human relationship. Sri Aurobindo is not speaking here of the Purusha but of course he's always speaking of that. But he's speaking here of this young woman,
Mm.
this beautiful princess,
Mm.
who Satyavan now realizes it's his very own.
Mm.
She's his very own. A golden figure given to his grasp, hid in its breast the key of all his aims. So he sees everything in Savitri.
Mm.
And we have to understand it from that and let it touch our hearts
Mm.
as well as our minds and our souls. And what is it? Well, she carries a spell to bring the immortal's bliss on earth, to mate with heaven's truth our mortal thought, and to lift our hearts, earth hearts, nearer the eternal sun. And then he continues, and it just gets more and more beautiful.
Mm. And here, when he says the aeonic dreams, is it like the dreams forever? Like, is it like how we say eons and eons? Is it the same
Yeah,
meaning?
yes, it's the same meaning. It's dreams that have gone on for eons.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
186. In these great spirits, now incarnate here, love brought down power out of eternity to make of life his new undying base. His passion surged a wave from fathomless deeps, It leaped to earth from far forgotten heights, but kept its nature of infinity.
Okay, so what we have here now in Sri Aurobindo is telling us that these two spirits, Satyavan and Savitri, who have now incarnated here,
Mm.
in them, love brought down power out of eternity
Mm.
to make to make
Of life,
of life his new
new
undying base.
days.
His passion surged a wave from fathomless deeps. And here, fathomless can be understood in many ways. Fathomless in the sea, when you're testing the depth of the sea, it means you cannot test the depth of the
Yeah,
sea.
you cannot
If
reach the
something,
bottom.
no, if something is fathomless in the mind,
It's a concept which we cannot understand.
there you go. So you got it. Very good.
Yeah.
It leaped to earth from far forgotten heights. Yes, but even leaping to earth, it kept its nature of infinity.
Mm.
Now, the next section is one that has touched me all my life.
Mm.
It has been the key, I would say, to my life. It holds the key to all our lives, but it has been particularly the key to my life. And when you'll read it, you'll understand.
On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings, we seem to meet. Our lives are not aliens, nor as strangers join, moved to each other by a causeless force. The soul can rejoice its answering soul
Can
across.
recognize.
Oh, sorry.
So,
The soul
so
can recognize its answering soul across dividing time and on life's roads, absorbed, rapt traveler turning, it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face, and touched by the warning finger of swift love, it thrills again to an immortal joy, wearing a mortal body of delight,
for delight.
for delight.
Now, I know you could read it much better after I explain it. So
Okay,
I
we'll
like
try again.
it
Yeah.
again because it is so, so powerful, so beautiful. The dumb bosom is the silent bosom, of course. It's always dumb is never dumb that we understand dumb in the present world.
Uh huh.
It's the silent. And the globe is obviously still oblivious at this point. It doesn't really know its aim because the supramental has not yet descended. And someone to get out of it, someone to escape it, someone to see it as illusion, but it is oblivious. And somehow we meet, we seem to meet as unknown beings. This can apply to you and me as well as it can apply to any of the people we meet in
Mm-hmm.
whom we feel a connection that cannot be purely explained by the intellect or by the vital nature
Mm.
or even by the heart. Sometimes it's even deeper than that. So we seem to meet as unknown beings, but our lives are not aliens and they don't join together as strangers, moved to each other by some causeless force, because the soul can recognize its answering soul, even across dividing time and on the roads of life, an absorbed, wrapped traveler, because we're always wrapped up in our thoughts and everything else. Sometimes it turns and it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face. And touched by the warning finger of swift love, it thrills once more to a joy that is immortal in this person who is wearing a mortal body for delight. So when you read that as if you were speaking to your companion,
Mm.
or as if you were speaking to your mother or father whom you dearly love,
Mm.
and recognize what Sri Aurobindo is saying here, that time, even though time divides us, it doesn't divide us.
Mm.
The contact with the inner being that wears even a mortal body for delight. Okay,
I'll attempt again.
on the dumb bosom.
On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we seem to meet, our lives are not aliens, nor as strangers join, moved to each other by a causeless force.
Uh, Nor as strangers join, moved to each other by a causeless force. So they don't join as strangers who are moved to each other. You have to sort of connect that feeling.
Sentence, okay. On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we seem to meet, our lives are not aliens, nor as strangers join, moved to each other by a causeless force. The soul can recognize its answering soul across dividing time and on life's roads, absorbed, rapt traveler, turning it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face, and touched by the warning finger of swift love, it thrills again to an immortal joy, wearing a mortal body for delight.
I'll read it once for you.
Yeah.
On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we seem to meet, our lives are not aliens, nor as strangers join, moved to each other by a causeless force. The soul can recognize its answering soul across dividing time and on life's roads, absorbed, rapt traveler, turning, it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face, and touched by the warning finger of swift love, it thrills again to an immortal joy, wearing a mortal body for delight.
Okay, so now I'll attempt again.
Okay.
On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, although as unknown beings we see.
Don't want to break after although. It's although as unknown
Okay,
beings we seem to meet, not although as no. Okay.
understood. On the dumb bosom of this oblivious globe, Although, as unknown beings, we seem to meet, our lives are not aliens, nor as strangers join, moved to each other by a causeless force. The soul can recognize its answering soul across dividing time and on life's roads, absorbed, rapt traveler, turning it recovers familiar splendors in an unknown face, and touched by the warning finger of swift love, it thrills again to an immortal joy, wearing a mortal body for delight.
Did you really feel that you were saying this to your beloved?
I felt a
And
little better than how I was reading from before,
still
but still, there is more to be opened for me in
correct.
from these lines.
If
Yeah.
I were grading it, I'd give it a B.
Okay.
So we have to get up to A.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to work on it maybe,
Yes.
and we can pick it up again next time because I
Sure.
want to continue because he doesn't end for a while yet.
Yeah. There is a power within that knows beyond our knowings. We are greater than our thoughts, and sometimes earth unveils that vision here. To live, to love are signs of infinite things. Love is a glory from eternity's spears, abased, disfigured, abased,
Abased.
abased, disfigured, mocked by baser mites that steal his name and shape and ecstasy. He is still the Godhead by which all can change.
Now he says it all to us. He says that there is a power within us
Mm-hmm.
that knows beyond our knowings, because our knowings are mental knowings.
Uh-huh.
We don't truly know. Knowing is in the mind, and the mind is always filled with duality. So, how can we say love and hate are the same? Joy and sorrow are the same.
Mm.
We can't say that with the mind. But when we get above the mind, we can see that they are the same.
Mm.
They are a different manifestation of the play of the divine. So when we look at this line, we see that this power within truly knows beyond our knowings, beyond what we think we know. We are great. And then Sri Aurobindo gives us the answer by saying we are greater than our thoughts.
Yeah.
Ah, how beautiful. And sometimes Earth even unveils that vision here to us. We have that moment. Personally, that moment of connection, of deeper connection, was when you spontaneously kissed my cheek. And I said, oh my goodness. Oh, so it's more than just a meeting. There's something deeper here. And what is it? Well, I'm certain it's the psychic being that has responded. Now, and then he has these two lines that are so beautiful, and we should repeat them as mantras constantly.
Mm.
To live, to love are signs of infinite things, because love is a glory from eternity's spheres. Well, but then he tells us what happens now on the earth. abased, abused, disfigured, mocked by baser mites that steal his name and shape and ecstasy. He is still the Godhead by which all can change. And we see this now throughout the media, just abasing love.
Mm.
And we see it in films, we see it with this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, and this lady, and all the child trafficking that
Yeah.
goes on with millions of children, young children, teens and younger. And we see that there truly is no love there.
Mm.
But Sri Aurobindo says, even though love is mocked by baser mites, it is still the Godhead by which all can change. And we remember in Book 1, Canto 2, when love comes to Savitri,
Mm.
and only Savitri can hold that Godhead,
Mm.
and only Mother could hold that divine love that has no darkness in it, that has no twists, no demands. Only that love has the power to change everything. It's an extraordinary passage we've just read because we began with Satyavan meeting her
Yeah.
and seeing that she is everything that his heart and soul could need. And yet she is everything that the world needs and the earth needs.
Mm.
And that is the mother. And then he begins to tell us about this oblivious globe and how we seem to meet as unknown beings, but it's not at all true. We
Mm.
all have been through so many, many lives to be here at this moment. We are not newly formed beings.
Mm.
There are many newly formed beings. There are many beings who have just taken birth from the animal.
Mm.
And Mother speaks of this. She speaks of cats and dogs and horses and even birds, she says at one point, have taken human birth in their next evolution. So these are the more primitive evolutionary signs. In Africa, for many centuries, it was like that also. That doesn't mean to say that there weren't great souls manifesting in Africa to lift up the people.
Mm.
The great souls always came.
Mm.
And we cannot say that Aboriginals are also very unformed beings or newly formed beings because they had the knowledge of a presence and a power that guided their lives. So all we can say here is that love, who is mocked by baser mites, abased, disfigured, and his name is stolen, unfortunately, as well as his shape and ecstasy, he is still the Godhead by which all can change. So we finished one page today, which is a lot to do, but it's extremely important. Huh?
This one, like the abased, disfigured, mocked by baser mites, that steals his name and shape and ecstasy. He is still the Godhead by which all can change. So is he meaning like how um, the name of love is abused and disfigured and mocked?
Even the force of love is abused and disfigured and mocked. Ah,
Even the
let's
force
let's
of love, as in like the Godhead?
no take some examples of the Muslim people who say you have to be Muslim or you're nothing, and yet they love each other. Or you take the Christian evangelists. Is that
Mm,
truly love? They preach love. They preach love to all, but unless you're saved and dipped in the water, you're nothing. You go to hell. Is that truly love?
mm,
Is a God who will
mm,
dish out good and evil or rewards or hell, heaven or hell? Is that truly love? No. Love is the
mm.
Godhead by which all can change. Even though he's abased, even though he's disfigured.
Understood.
And how is
Mm,
love disfigured? Well, there's the Antichrist, there's the Asura, even the Rakshasa. All of them disfigure love.
mm,
And yet he's the only solution. And now we're speaking only
mm.
of divine love, only divine love.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that comes from Mother and Sri Aurobindo. But prema, it has come also in the past. It has
Mm,
come from Krishna. It has come
mm,
from Buddha. It has come
mm,
from Christ.
mm,
It has come from great masters such as, well, I can give you some examples. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci,
mm,
even poets, Khalil Gibran.
mm,
So many have brought forth love. George Washington Carver.
mm,
All of these people have been receptacles of love. And in their way, they have given us something of that divine love.
mm,
But it's only the avatars who can give us the full divine love. The Krishnas, Sri
mm.
Aurobindo, and Namaste.
Namaste.
Very good session.
But
Good.
before we go, I just wanted to say this line which I remembered of Khalil Gibran, where he says that, "Sweetheart, oh sweetheart, you're God in drag."
Huh. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you see, all of these people who criticize homosexuals, transsexuals, they don't know what this person is going through. Why it has chosen that path
Mm,
instead of another path.
mm,
And this is the great gift of the Buddha, who says compassion is and understanding is everything.
mm,
So we have to widen our consciousness, maybe not to accept all types, because there are many lower types and dark
mm,
types,
mm.
but at least to have compassion towards all
Yeah.
and understanding as much as possible.
Mm. Thank you so much, Narad.
We had a good session.
Yes.